Hi there, thanks for listening in on this webcast for archiving for IBM Clarity Solutions. So my name is Bob Gill and I'm with Clear Insight. We're a professional services company out of Canada, and we help folks with their IBM Clarity Solutions as well as Cognos TM1 solutions. Today I'm going to talk about archiving. What is it? How does it help folks? We'll go through a couple of questions and I'll talk about the approach to archiving and how it can be beneficial for you. So archiving at a general level is just getting rid of old data. It's looking for data that hasn't changed in a while. It's not going to change. It really should be locked down. It moves that into a different area so that it doesn't get included in processes and anything that will be moving data around in your system on a regular basis. So it can definitely help because it reduces the quantity of information that is processed. But say if you have a nightly process that recalculates things, if this data is not included in that, it reduces the time for those administrative processes. Say you've got actuals from 2 or 3 years ago, those actuals probably aren't changing. There's really no need to go back and reprocess, resum up the same numbers that really haven't changed. Some questions you will want to ask or figure out on your own if you have database access is: how big are the databases? Why are they so big? And is there a way to manage the database growth? Data growth can be one of those silent killers because things work fine day after day after day until you run out of space in a particular database, and then it becomes an emergency because everything's gone down. So it's something that can be proactively managed and should be proactively managed to avoid that kind of catastrophe. So how do you check the database? Well, if you log into Management Studio, which we have open here, any database, if you click on it, you'll be able to see the properties of it, which will show you the size of the database. You'll want to identify tables which are larger than say a gig, or even a couple hundred megs is a large enough thing. There's different tools to do that. You can find them online or send me a message and I can point you in the right direction. But you want to identify tables that are quite large inside your database. You'll tend to see this kind of distribution where most are quite small, and then there's just a few that are quite large. That's typical of a star schema database where you've got some dimensions, but the fact tables are usually these large ones. So once you've identified those large tables, the next thing to do is to also identify what are the scenario and year combinations in your system. In any kind of corporate performance management solution, you're probably dealing with different scenarios across different years. So actuals across different years, budgets across different years, forecasts, what-if scenarios, all these different scenario and year combinations. As time goes on, the data still sits there, but it becomes less valuable. A what-if scenario from 3 or 4 years ago is probably not relevant anymore. That's probably a good candidate to even be deleted. Whereas if it's actuals that are from 3 or 4 years ago, you'll want to archive that. You never really want to delete out actuals, or at least I don't recommend it, but they're good candidates for archiving. So once you identify those different scenario and year combinations, then you can actually select which ones you want to delete or archive. And once you've gone through that process, then we get to this point where we're just identifying each of these large tables. We create a separate database with really shadow copies of these ones. So for each of the large tables, you'll see the same kind of table name _archive as a suffix. And we really just move those old records into these tables. So they're there. If we ever want to restore them back, they're available to do that. It's a simple process to move them back and forth as we need to. But then they're not included in processing of that main table that we may have in our load database. The data is still available in a cube, so if someone's running a report that shows the last 20 years of data, those reports are still going to be fine. The data is still available in cubes. What it changes is it doesn't get reprocessed every night. It also helps with database backup sizes. Without taking out or archiving this old data, backup files tend to grow, continuing forever. Whereas with an archiving solution, if you continually archive each year out the old data, all the data is still available, but then the daily backups, they still stay about the same size. So if you ever do need to restore something, if you're doing some kind of disaster recovery exercise, then the disaster recovery can be done that much more quickly. It's not going to be waiting on backups that are 400 gigabytes large. A backup file for a Clarity solution shouldn't be any more than 20 gig. If you have a database that's larger than 20 gig, there's definitely an opportunity for archiving it. So again, my name is Bob Gill with Clear Insight. Our website is www.clearinsight.ca. Thank you for listening and have a good day.